Mark, I'm so excited to talk to you at C2E2. It's been a little while.
I'm excited to talk to you too.
So, a couple things happening. First of all, congratulations on the Firefly announcement.
Thank you. I've never gotten this kind of response from any announcement, particularly an announcement for something that's really an announcement for an announcement. You know, it's like we're announcing that we are developing something, not announcing yet that we're producing something. So just even the response to the theory of a show is really exciting.
The fact that there's even a possibility of Firefly returning after all these years is absolutely wonderful.
That it is, and it's funny. Like after the good feeling of the incredible response from the from the audience subsided, my wife and I started to feel the pressure of, oh well, now we really have to sell this thing. Like we don't want to let the fans down. So we're feeling an enormous responsibility at the moment.
As much as I'd like you to tell me every single thing about it, I would love to hear, how did you get involved with this project?
Well, it's funny. So it's interesting. No one can quite agree. The folks at Shadow Machine say that they were the first people who, thought of me for this. The folks at Collision 33, that's Nathan Fillion's company, they were the first people, they say, who thought of me for this. Regardless, I got an incoming phone call, essentially, to my agent, saying, would I be interested in Firefly? And my first reaction was yes, but I'd love to do this with my wife, Tara, because she's also a writer, she's also a showrunner, and she and I bonded over Firefly. Like, it was the first show we watched together as a couple. And Firefly was like a big part of the beginning of our relationship and eventual marriage. So, and also Tara had worked with Joss, so she knows his voice, and that was very important to us. Like, we didn't want to do Firefly unless it had the voice of the show, and the voice of the show is Joss.
As far as first watch of Firefly, any memories of that first experience for you?
Yeah, it's funny. So I had a strange entry into Firefly insofar as my first exposure to Firefly was reading the script for the pilot. But then, as you know, the pilot didn't air first. The pilot aired like third or something. So my first experience of watching Firefly was watching The Train Job, the first episode written by Tim Minear. And The Train Job was like so in some ways different from the pilot that I had read that there was like a slight, sort of like disconnect. Also like seeing the actors and everything. So it's just, my way into Firefly was just unconventional.
Well, beyond that project, which we are absolutely thrilled that you're getting to be involved with, we're going to hope for the best. But I'd love to hear a little bit about some of your other projects you just got to do, Star Wars and Jar Jar's big adventure, as it were.
Yes, that was a blast. I got to co-write that with Ahmed Best, who is an absolute delight and such a smart guy, and really came to the table with all these incredible ideas. And it was just a real blast to work with him. Like, it wasn't like one of those, a lot of times when you're quote-unquote writing with an actor, like, you're really doing the writing, the actor's putting their name on it, but this was a true collaboration. Like, I wrote half the script and Ahmed wrote half the script. I did a pass on his stuff, he did a pass on my stuff, so hopefully it reads like a singular voice wrote it, because that's always the goal. And we just had a really good time. I hope we get a chance to do more.
So now you've gotten to touch Star Wars universe, you've got Marvel universe, obviously DC. What's on the wish list next as far as the bigger pre-existing IPs?
It's funny. I realized I had an epiphany at the end of last year where I realized I've kind of like hit all my bucket list items. So my bucket list items now are not working in the properties, it's working in the properties in a different medium. Like I've done Star Trek in comics, I've never done Star Trek in live action. Would love to do that one day. Same thing with Star Wars. Would love to write for the MCU. But I've written all the characters and I've written all the properties that I could ever have hoped for. Especially now with Firefly, I feel like that was the very last box to check off.
Any other projects coming up that you'd like to share?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that I'm working on I can't talk about, but the stuff I can talk about is I've got a movie that's going into production next week called An Innocent Girl with Kerry Washington, James Marsden, and Coleman Domingo.
Congratulations.
Thank you. John McClellan is directing it, and I've been a huge fan of his work forever, so really, really excited about that. I'm writing right now the movie version of my graphic novel Last Flight Out for Apple with Sam Hargrave attached to direct. And working on another novel. I'm working on some comic book stuff, and I'm working on another animated show that's not Firefly. So working on a bunch of different things, but a lot of the things I can't, talk about just yet.
Well, can't wait to see them as always, and thank you so much for making time.
Thanks, always fun.